The Land. The Cavs trying to close out the Pistons. Cleveland stunned Detroit in Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. The Cavs scored the final 9 points to force OT and then pulled away. James Harden came up big in Cleveland's first road win of the postseason. Now it's back home where the Cavs are 6-0, and that is where we find our NBA reporter Jamal Collier on the scene in Cleveland. So Cavs star Donovan Mitchell one win away from the first conference finals of his career. What is Spida saying about accomplishing that tonight?
Yeah, Christine, he's trying not to get too far ahead of himself because even being up 3-2, he acknowledged they haven't actually accomplished anything yet. But he also said, look, he is human, and this is what this Cavs team has been working for, and Mitchell's been talking about really since last year in that disappointment in the Indiana series. It's why this team went out and made the moves they made at the trade deadline, bringing in Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, and of course James Harden to be a co-star next to Mitchell. And they really praised Harden for, despite all the playoff woes that he has, for just being like a calming presence and adding poise next to Mitchell. And look, Donovan said it, that it's been 9 times in his career. He's been to the playoffs all 9 years of his career and never gotten past this round. But him and Kenny Atkinson both agree, while this is an opportunity for them, they also have to have appropriate fear of this Pistons team because of what they did last round against Orlando.
You mentioned what they did against Orlando. Detroit facing elimination for the 4th time in these playoffs. What lessons are the Pistons applying from their first round 3-1 series comeback against Orlando?
Yeah, backs against the wall is kind of a place this team has been pretty comfortable in. And Cade Cunningham said, like, it boils down to the fact that that last round gave us perspective. All you have to do in this Game 6 is win a road game. And that's something this team has done before. It's something this team feels confident in their ability to do. And they can win this Game 6, get it back to Game 7 on the road, at home in Detroit. They still feel very confident about their chances. Jimmy Bickerstaff, though, a few moments ago during pregame, he took it even further back than that first round. He went to 22 years ago when this team won 14 games. They had that historic losing streak. And he said that really built our confidence, our trust, our belief in each other. That's why I would expect this team to not make a lineup adjustment to their starting lineup here, despite the struggles to Jalen Duren, to Asar Thompson. JB kind of doubled down and said, we are trying to build for the long term and build a culture. And what does it say about us if we go away from guys just because they are struggling? They know they're going to need more from Duren, more from Asar, and more to get help from Cade, and they're going to double down on the guys that have brought him here to hope to lead him past this road game in Game 6.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham coming off a 39-point performance in Game 5 where he hit 6 3-pointers. We see, I believe, James Harden there warming up behind you. What is he saying about possibly getting to another conference finals?
Well, look, this is why James was brought into this situation, and he said it's still been a learning curve for him, right, of figuring out how to play next to a star like Mitchell, figuring out when to be aggressive. And we saw it in the game, the other night where Mitchell did not have a great shooting performance, and Harden really picked up the slack for him. And late in Game 3, Harden sort of found ways to be aggressive. And he's still sort of finding ways to mix in his spots and learn about this team. And he said it's not always going to look pretty. It's not always going to be as smooth as maybe we expected. But the Cavs have a lot of confidence in Harden. They have a lot of belief in the work that he puts in. And Christine, Harden, at this moment with Mitchell, they've just been kind of kindred spirits in knowing that they were brought together to lead this organization. They haven't been to a conference finals without LeBron since the 90s, and they believe that moment could start tonight.
Yeah, it's certainly been a lot of fun watching those two together. We'll see if they're able to get it done tonight with you as we get ready for another possible closeout game in the NBA. Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs can send the Wolves packing in Game 6 in Minneapolis. The big man bounced back from his Game 4 ejection with 27 points and 17 boards in a 29-point Game 5 rout. Minnesota had no answer for Wemby. On the scene in Minneapolis is our NBA reporter Michael C. Wright covering the Spurs. So, Michael, what can we expect from this Spurs team as they look to close out this series in Minnesota?
Well, obviously, this is a young Spurs team, and this is their second closeout opportunity of these playoffs. Now, De'Aaron Fox said that if they've learned anything from that first series against Portland, it's that they can expect one of two teams to enter this game. One that's desperate, and the second one is a team that's ready for its season to end. De'Aaron Fox is expecting the former. This is a very experienced Minnesota Timberwolves team, and Fox pointed out that they've been to the conference finals 2 years in a row. And he said that the Wolves believe they can still win this series, especially now that Anthony Edwards, he's had a couple days to rest since playing in Game 5. So they're bracing for a big effort from Ant-Man tonight.
Okay, so we haven't seen Wemby play in Minnesota since his ejection in Game 4. So what are his teammates saying about him being back at the Target Center?
Well, first off, Victor Wembanyama has moved on. We tried to talk to him about that after Game 5, and he was not touching it. The only thing he said was that I've got to keep my composure for my teammates. Now, De'Aaron Fox was asked if we're expecting a upset Victor Wembanyama. And Fox said, no, we don't even need that from him. We just need Vic to be who he is. And who is Vic? He's a guy that probably has the most gravity offensively of any player in the NBA. And on the defensive end, he's probably the best defender in the NBA. So De'Aaron Fox said that they're expecting that Vic will get some boos, but he was like, we don't care. We're here to win a game.
Yeah, he's had 25 points and 15 rebounds twice this series. The rest of the NBA combined has done it twice this postseason. Michael C. Wright, live from Minneapolis. Thank you. Victor Wembanyama seems to have all the answers for the Timberwolves offense. Wemby has 22 blocks to the Timberwolves' 19 made field goals in this series when he contests their shots. Minnesota scored just 9 points on 4 of 17 shooting when Wemby contested their shots in Game 5. Also on the scene in Minneapolis, we bring in reporter Myron Metcalf covering the Timberwolves. So, Myron, what are you hearing about the T-Wolves locker room ahead from an elimination game?
Well, I can tell you that they were bumping Drake's Iceman album before practice, and they don't think they're going to freeze tonight. Mike Conley said that they are on red alert going into this game, and he said they have the experience to respond. He said no one has to explain the stakes to them because they've been here before. They don't like the feeling that they had when they were down 30-plus in Game 5. And they said they know that this is a team that has to bounce back in front of a home crowd. So this isn't about anyone telling them or explaining to them the stakes. The Timberwolves said they're ready to bounce back in Game 6.
I don't know if I would bump Drake now that I'm thinking about it before I'm trying to get a win because we already know what he does to teams. But we'll see if that works in their favor. What are players saying about what adjustments they need to do to keep their season alive?
Well, both Mike Conley and Ayo Dosunmu said that they have to really help Anthony Edwards out when he is trapped, doubled, blitzed. They said they have to be available to score, put themselves in scoring positions when the Spurs apply that pressure to him, even though the defensive presence of Wemby makes that difficult. But he said they have to give him the support that he needs and not stall that offense when the Spurs apply that defensive pressure.
All right, the Timberwolves have a 1-3 series record when trailing 3-2, so we'll see if they are able to flip that tonight. Myron Metcalf live from the Target Center. Thank you.
Dominate the Timberwolves. That's right. They're a 5.5-point favorite on the road tonight. And Jay, we talked about this the other day. In Game 5, when the game was in San Antonio, coming off of the elbow from Wembanyama, the Timberwolves didn't really go at him. They didn't play him particularly physically. They used to call it the Jordan rules. Yeah. Do you expect the Wemby rules to be in effect tonight?
It has to be. And for this, look, the Spurs are 7-3 in the playoffs. Okay, as Wemby goes, so go the Spurs.
Right.
So when you look at game, 2 in the first round matchup against Portland, right? Concussion protocol, he was out. They lost. You look at game 1, first round of this series, like he goes 0 from 8 from the field. Physicality, they lose. The elbow game, the right angry elbow, they lose. You have to be physical with him from the beginning. There's no way he can have 18 points in the first quarter of the way he plays. He has to be on his back each and every possession.
I'll be fascinated, Wendy. I mean, you've been around him since before the rest of the world was talking about him. This is going to be a first for him tonight, however they play it on the floor. I have to imagine the boos are going to be long and loud the first time he touches the ball, and every time he touches the ball, all of the spotlight him in a road game. I'll be fascinated to see how he responds to that.
Yeah, and so much about situations like this is about how the officials let the teams play. And I would expect Minnesota to try to take advantage of being at home to be a little bit rougher in those situations. And the thing about the Spurs, they have impressed me at every step this season with their poise. Yeah. So I do not think Minnesota can count on San Antonio not being ready and handling the situation. They're going to have to beat them straight up.
Fair enough. So there's another matchup, or at least another piece of the strategy, Wendy, you were talking about in our meeting this morning, that you're watching for that will decide tonight's game.
Yeah, Greeny, the biggest chess match going on in this series right now is Ant Edwards going against the Spurs defense and trying to keep him from getting the ball and shooting the ball. If he comes up at half court and brings the ball up, they're double teaming him. But then really the last game, in Game 5, they were trying to double team him off of the ball. If you look at Games 3 and 4, Ant averaged 24 shots in those games and 34 points. That's what Minnesota's looking for. Game 5, He played 40 minutes and only got 13 shots up, scoring plunged to 20 points. Just getting the ball into Anthony Edwards' hands tonight is going to be where the rubber meets the road.
Guys, I said this last year, and I thought it was a pivotal mark for Anthony Edwards to continue to progress as a player to the next level. And we keep talking about the similarities between him and Michael Jordan. On all those plays, you're seeing Ant off the ball on the perimeter, getting double team coming off, side pin down actions or fadeaway screens, or when he has the ball in his hands. I still think the best Anthony Edwards possession that we can see is when he is on the block. Michael Jordan talked all the time about you rest on offense when you can post up, because you can see the double team coming over your right or your left shoulder. You can be a playmaker and you can be a scorer. Anthony Edwards is trying to do everything on the perimeter. I think that's the wrong geographical location for him to be on the floor.
It's an interesting point. Monica, I want to be completely fair to Edwards here. I mean, he suffered this really bad knee injury, 3 weeks ago? I mean, so just the mere fact that he's out there playing as much and as well as he is remarkable. But there is a piece of this tonight, as I look at it, like Anthony Edwards sort of looked like he was the next one, right? He was going to be the next great one. And it sort of feels like he's been surpassed by the guy he's playing against tonight, right? Wembanyama is now the next great one. So there's so many storylines, McNutt, I think, as this series plays out.
Yeah, I agree, Greeny, but this is a moment, right? Like, can he keep this series alive? Can he, to Jay's point, find the places on the floor where he can find an advantage versus the Spurs defense that has quite honestly been stifling? I think tonight he will figure it out. He has talked about having conversations with MJ about being on the block. I don't think that's something that is not a part of his game. So I really will be curious to see how that goes tonight. But on the flip side of that, are the Spurs poised enough to close out tonight as well, though? I think Ant is ready for the moment.
What do you think as far as that side of it, Winman?
Yeah, I think if Minnesota needs some help outside of Ant Edwards. Julius Randle has been shut down largely in this series. San Antonio just has so many defensive weapons, even beyond Wembanyama. In Minnesota tonight, they just need points. I know that's ground level analysis. They just need to get some points and make San Antonio have to try to score with them, because San Antonio hasn't been great from three-point range in this series. And if you rough up Victor a little bit and can get them to force San Antonio to have to score with you, it swings back to Minnesota's favor. But I have been so impressed with the way San Antonio has handled every challenge in this postseason. I understand why they're 5-point favorites tonight.
Do you think they close it out tonight?
I don't. I think Minnesota wins. I also think that you'll see the former Knick and Julius Randle. Yeah. He has to have a monstrous game at home. And he hasn't been having a strong series. I think there's no better way to set that tempo than be aggressive defensively. You might see a lineup change a little bit by Chris Finch, which I think, Naz Reid and company. But I think Julius Randle has to be next level this evening.
I'm with you. He's a player to watch tonight. Again, both Game 6s tonight. More hoops as we continue. Back to the football as well. Can a brutal early schedule